It's been a while since we had a chance to work on the Dalton. We've been so busy with the Beat and the Supras, plural, and the Subaru and stuff. So Dalton is finally getting back in it. So what we're doing first today is I spent the time to do all that. Now, this is not 100%. This is just kind of like our tentative wiring diagram. So what we're going to do is we are going to basically get rid of all the wires that we're not using. Now, we're not going to completely cut them out. We're basically just going to take them and peel them away, throw them over here, wrap it all up. Now, there's a few reasons why we're doing that. The main reason is that because we are now getting rid of the carb stuff, we are going to go, let's see if we can see this here. We're going to go through the old wire down there for the carbs. So if you look, you'll see the throttle cable, and you'll see these wires here. I don't know if you can see them moving back there, but that's the hole for the carb. Now the problem with that is that it's extremely close to the blower motor, but that's the only thing that makes sense without having to put a new wire, drilling a new hole through the firewall. It's really hard to get to, so that's why today we're going to slim down the harness. Now, as far as like mounting the ECU goes, I'm not too sure where it's going to go, but I'm going to leave enough slack, but it's probably going to mount somewhere on the passenger side over there. It's kind of where we're going to go. So I went through today and I essentially went down the line of wires that we're going to need, that we have to have, and wires we're going to need. So for instance, not all Dalton guys are going to have fan. I do. So I'm going to have that as an optional wire. Then we're going to have obviously fuel pump. Fuel pump is a requirement. And then, you know, optional equipment like flex fuel, launch control, idle control valve, things of that nature. So we're basically just going to run it all through. And then a big one that we're pre-wiring is going to be the developmental distributor that JT over at DRP made. So that's actually already here, but you know, we're still moving forward with our fuel only setup. So basically I'm going to pre-wire all that stuff, get it all through the firewall. That way down the line, when we're ready to install that stuff, hopefully I won't have to go through and redo it. So we're going to go ahead and start stripping this harness down, and then we're going to go from there. Sheesh. All right. So the harnesses are mostly done, separated, not done. So these are from the MS3X. This is the injector wiring, coil wiring, miscellaneous wiring, and on this side is like the required main stuff from the MS3X. So if you look, it's literally, to get the car running with the optional equipment for this car, it's literally like almost a third of the actual wires required. Now remember, the MS3 plus MS3X board, it's really designed to run like 8 cylinders, so that's why there's a lot of wire that's not being used here. So, but yeah, so that's separated. So what we're gonna do now is just essentially clean this all up, and then hopefully it'll be ready to route through the chassis. All right, so on my right leg here, this is the wires that we're not using. Over here, this whole bunch, disgusting bunch, is the required wiring. So first we're gonna get rid of this side here. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of straighten up all these wires together and then just tape them at the end, you know, put little sections on them just to keep them together. We don't really want to cut anything. 2 reasons. One, we don't know if our wiring over here is correct and everything that we need. Secondly, if we end up swapping to another ECU, this is always nice to have, you know. So what we're going to try to do, like I said, is we're just going to essentially move this all out. We're going to tape it into a bundle just so it's nice and clean. And then when we get the car officially running good and we're not doing anything else, then at this point we could cut it or whatever. Me personally, I'm probably going to cut it. The reason why is that these harnesses, they're not terribly expensive. I mean, this whole both harnesses is about $200, so a little price on the pricey side, but they are labeled and they already come into the connectors. So you know, if this ECU ends up going to another project, then I mean, realistically, it's not a loss. Plus, having a bunch of 20 gauge wire around is always really nice for just all the random wiring things that I do. So that's what we're doing first. We're going to go ahead and just get this out of the way. We're going to tape it up a little bit into sections just to keep it together. And then at that point, we will focus on the main wiring and then come back for this stuff. Alrighty, so hopefully this looks a little, yeah, not really. So seriously though, this is the easy side, unfortunately, but this is the harness that we're not using. So I basically grouped them together. So this is the MS3 side, and it's just run all the way down into that, and same deal here. So here's the MS3X side, and you can see that this wire runs all the way down to the end, all the way over there to the end of our dyno. So these are done. So we know that these aren't being used. Then at this point, I'm going to start off with doing the ground wiring and then cleaning it all up. So how this is going to work is, since we're going to get a actual manufacturer harness made, I'm basically going to group these all together and then run them through. So I'm going to untangle all of this, right? I'm going to feed it through the car, and then at that point I'm going to route everything the way it needs to go, and then we essentially will tape it all up. Once we're all done, we'll have an idea of how our harness needs to be made. So what will happen is we'll end up removing it all again, right? And then we'll put it on a table, and then we'll measure out end to end and branches that need to be done. And then voila, we've got our harness manufacturing plan ready to go. So that's basically it there in a nutshell. Unfortunately, that's all the time that I've got for this week. Christmas is Monday, so you know, happy holidays to all you guys out there, and try not to work too hard. But yep, that's it right there. So that's kind of our update. So we'll see you next time.